Welcome all my friends, welcome all again, and welcome into a best of video, probably the latest of the year, because of course, anytime I try to do these best of the year postings, I usually try to, hit the first week or the second week sweet spot when everyone's trying to do their videos, but obviously that didn't happen. Crazy holidays and a lot of personal stuff that goes down, and that's okay, but because we're here now and we're talking about some great music. I whittled it down to a top 10 list, but as always, I have so many honorable mentions because I don't care what they say. Like, what a great year for music. There were like 4 or 5 cuts that were really hard to make, and I'll bring them up later, maybe just before the number one. I don't know if I usually do it before the number one or after, but we really want to hop right into the list. So number 10, I don't have a lot of these on physical media this year because, man, vinyl's expensive for one thing, and but I would love to eventually get the top 10 list at least, and there's so many more that I'd love to have at some point, especially to complete certain collections. Anyway, long story long, here's number 10. It's Fred Again with Brian Eno, which you can kind of see there when I angle it right against the slight sunshine out there. And yeah, anyway, this is Secret Life, and a lot of people not too into this because I guess you have a lot of Brian Eno fans that were coming to check it out to complete their Brian Eno discography, as challenging as that is. Prolific producer, member of Roxy Music, produced some of the best albums ever, and under a solo name too, and some of the best collabs ever. Very versatile producer. I got to admit, I don't know that much about Fred Again. I've heard a couple tracks here and there. I always see his solo work, listed on certain vinyl sites and that, but it never really grabbed me, but I have only tried like a couple tracks here and there. This really grabbed me, and this is just great nocturnal listening. Like, I don't know, maybe some people aren't trying it at the right time. I find this is amazing, like 3 a.m. listening. I know I'm a kind of a crazy person, but yeah, I was kind of knocked out the first time, and I've played it a lot since. It feels right in the summer heat, but those summer nights that, you're up at 2 or 3 a.m. and it's still kind of hot in the house or outside. Yeah, love it. Not sure if that one's an AI created. I don't think it is, though. But the debate about that goes on. There's a lot of album covers now. Most of them are, though, anything with faces is painfully obvious, but I think that's just a photograph. I mean, I'm pretty sure it is. But there was a lot of debate. Anyway, the music's great. It's amazing nocturnal listening, and I've got to check out some more Fred Again, just in case, see what I'm missing. Number 9, I do actually have a copy of this one as well, and it really grew on me. I really liked it the first time. It doesn't really look like there's anything there, but here we are, Foo Fighters, their first album since Taylor Hawkins sadly passed away. And, I was supposed to see them a couple years ago. I was finally going to see a band that I'd been listening to since, I think, 1998. I was very young when I got into Foo Fighters, and I wasn't buying music yet. I just liked the 3 songs the radio would play all the time. By the time the third record came out, I had Color in the Shape, and I bought the third record. Loved them both. Eventually went back to the debut. Always loved those first 3 records a lot. And, people say what they will about all the There's Nothing Left to Lose and One by One albums, but I think they, they hit kind of a lull in a way in the mid-2000s. I brought that up in another video, but I really think they got their groove back, got their mojo back, and I think maybe this is their best one since that third record. Rescued, I know that one was overplayed. My buddy brings that up all the time. He goes, they play it every hour on the radio. I don't listen to the radio, so I still love that song. And when they did it on SNL last month, it reignited my love for it again. Great opener song anyway. The Glass, oh, that's a good one. And doing it with HER on SNL was made it even better. And then The Teacher, of course, the I don't know why I'm showing the back. There's nothing to see, but you can kind of see the track list. The Teacher is a big 10-minute epic, and one of my favorite things they've written in the last decade and a half for sure. But I always liked the Foo Fighters, and I will admit I fell off with album number 5 and to a lesser extent 6. But there's even good stuff on those albums. But I kind of champion a lot of their more recent work because I don't think they're one of those bands that people say they were, where it's you only their first 2 albums are good. Um, yeah, they've always really meant something to me, and like I said, this one was my favorite since that third record. And it's such a nice tribute to Taylor, and also his mom, Dave Grohl's mom. They passed within like 3 to 6 months of each other. Just devastating. And Dave Grohl's still a really stand-up guy and a great guy in rock. And obviously he's a great drummer, but I really like him as frontman too. I really think the Foo Fighters have a lot left to say, and thankfully this new album really proves that. Though I did even like the one prior, the one no one else seemed to like. I like that record too. Number 8 is I wish I had a copy of this one, the Caroline Polachek record, Desire I Want to Turn Into. I was supposed to see Caroline this year, but something happened and I was devastated. I lost the money for it, and man, it would have been one of the best shows of the year for sure. What brings this one into the top 10 is Billions alone, basically, but Welcome to My Island, of course. And, I heard some tracks from her debut album back when that one was a little newer, like The Door and So Hot You're Hurting My Feelings, and I really liked it, but I never thought she'd start to develop into one of my favorite artists, and this second full-length really shows that. And there's a lot to dive into with Carolyn because I don't know, Caroline did the Chairlift band prior to, and she also has another solo work under another name, which was recently issued on vinyl, so you can finally get it. But I personally think that Desire is the best thing she's done so far, and yeah, I can't wait for more. There's just that voice is it's something else. It's a powerhouse, and a lot of people go, "Oh, it's so auto-tuned," or "There's a lot of studio trickery," but she's really proved live. Because, like I said, I didn't get to catch her live, and I'll always kick myself over that. But I missed 2 huge shows between her and Big Thief this year. Those would have been 2 of the best shows ever. But yeah, she really proves live, and on her socials and all that that it's not trickery. That's her voice, and it's crazy what she can do. It's beautiful and devastating and powerful and scary, and it's everything. And there obviously is some parts where they screw with their voice, for lack of a better word, like on Billions, where it goes really low and growly, but most of that is still her voice. It's just they put some kind of production over it, and again, it's just amazing what she can do. It's like the elastic voice. And but yeah, if you don't know what I'm talking about, just look up Billions on YouTube or Spotify, and just enjoy. And if you like that, you'll probably like the rest of the record. It's incredible. Next up is going to be another one that I really wish I had a physical copy of, and we'll get there. I've got a lot of his on vinyl. Bob Dylan's Shadow Kingdom, which is kind of he did a live stream with this, and it's kind of hard because it's like they already recorded it, and then there was a video to go with it, but the video wasn't exactly live. But it doesn't really matter because him redoing these old songs from the 60s, and that, like, he's an 80-year-old man now, and these sound incredible. What great... Like, I actually like Shadow Kingdom more than his last true studio album, which I thought was amazing. When it came out, I thought, if that's the last thing he ever does, all the power to him. It's great. It was one of my favorite things he did in the last couple decades of his life, and he's still doing shows. Like, he just played in Chicago recently, and Montreal. Yeah, Shadow Kingdom. It's just a bunch of, and a lot of artists are doing this. Like Neil Young just did this, but a lot of artists are redoing their catalog or certain songs from it. And I think Dylan's might be the best or one of the best of the reduxes or redoing your old songs. His voice, like it's definitely a smoky kind of husky growl now, but this voice is so suited to this material. And a lot of people used to talk about in the 80s, like Bob Dylan's voice is shot. And I heard that for 2 decades. Like, oh, I love old Bob Dylan, but I don't like him now. Like his voice was shot, after they all had different points where they fell off, some of them 76 and some of them 78 and some of them 75. That's the last best thing he ever did. But I think every decade has some great Bob Dylan in it. Um, and not that I'm an apologist or I love everything he ever did, but I can't think of any studio album I disliked. But anyway, Shadow Kingdom, a bunch of reworks of old material, and a lot of them are just as good. Some of them I even like better, which is kind of crazy to say, actually. But yeah, no, that's true. And what are we at now? 6. It's hard when I don't have something to show for every single entry, but number 6 is going to be, and I did a video on this, and it got a lot of good reaction, but a lot of people said, you're crazy, and this sucks, or you might not be a real fan if you like this. I really like this record by the Smashing Pumpkins, and my opinion hasn't changed that much since that video. Maybe I even like it more. Maybe all the people screaming at the computer screens made me like it more. I didn't say, like, I like this more than Melancholy or Siamese Dream, no. But, man, for this point in their career, and I know Billy says and does some pretty weird, questionable things, but when it comes to the actual artistry, I actually really like this, and a lot of people don't like how electronic the last couple records were, and that CYR one, um, I never know if it's an acronym or if you're supposed to say it like that. But that one, that one got a lot of haters, got a lot of guff or whatever. And but I actually found it more interesting than the first Shiny and Oh So Bright. I definitely didn't really like it the first 2 times I listened to it. And then it started to strike me like I think Corgan's just more influenced by Depeche Mode and electronic stuff than and we've been through this with him before, back with Adore, but then, he's more influenced by that than, MBV and like on the second record, or, Led Zeppelin and all those influences, Black Sabbath on the first. And, if you want the old art rock stuff, Melancholy's still there. It's still one of the best albums of the 90s. Siamese Dream is still the favorite of a lot of people, including myself. But I really like this record. Some people don't like the singing on it. Some people don't like just how long it is. They go 33 songs. Like, I actually like all of them, even the couple that I really didn't like. I think like Hooligans and Hooray and stuff like that are obviously a little less good than the rest, but the ones that I was just hating, the first, first wave that dropped, first dozen or so songs, everything just kept growing on me, and conceptually I just think it's cool that Billy Corgan is still trying to do concept albums in an age where no one is really doing them anymore. No one cares about albums as a statement as opposed to just singles. Even Mars Volta kind of dialed it back, and they were always one that I pointed to, like, the concept album isn't dead, guys. Mars Volta's still going, and look what they're doing. And obviously, there are a lot of prog rock bands and stuff, but there isn't anything in the popular realm that is still kind of doing that. Whereas Mars Volta were doing it when they had their gold record. They were still doing concept albums, and I really respect Billy for churning out 33 songs. I don't know if Jeff Schroeder if he left the group because he didn't like the vision, or he wanted them to do more hits and less of this, or write songs like 1979. I'm not sure what the story is there, but I just think they crafted a great record. My only knock against this record is I'd like to hear more Chamberlain. There are some great drum tracks with him, but there's not enough of that. But I still think, and I don't know if I said this in my review, I still think this is my favorite, like, post Machina album. It's kind of tough between this and Oceana still, and I even like Zeitgeist, so, and I love Zwan. Well, that's not Smashing Pumpkins, but it almost might as well be. I'm still waiting for that vinyl reissue. I would love Mary Star of the Sea is one of my favorite records of the early 2000s. I love that album. Um, all right, so that's number 6. Number 5. Now we're getting into Animal Collective territory. So anyway, it's going to be Avit, and this is, for my money, I'm not big on the cover art, but for my money, this is the best of his solo albums. And I mean, when you have Down There and Eucalyptus and I guess I count Slasher Flicks, even though that's more of a band. If we count that, maybe I'll do the Slasher Flicks over that. It's hard. It's hard because these Animal Collective guys are so consistent, but I think this is the most complete sounding work. I think maybe Slasher Flicks is my favorite, but again, the jury's out. Is that a band or a solo work? I'm not sure. It was kind of a nice trio he had going, and if he ever wanted to do another Slasher Flicks album, I know that the tour got a good reception, but a lot of people didn't like that album, and mostly because of the production. But I digress. This is a really good album. You're not going to get too much by just listening to the singles. It's kind of one of those records, and this is what a lot of the Animal Collective guys do. You want to listen to the whole thing, much like Deacon's album. I think the musical and Hey Bog kind of came out as like a double A side prior to, and Hey Bog is kind of the favorite. It kind of stands out amongst the rest. But again, you want to listen to this from Invisible Darlings onward and just treat it like a 40-minute journey. Kind of respect the artistry of the album again, which, in the streaming times, it's hard to say that to people. They go, well, I don't have time to do 40 minutes, or I want something for my workout playlist. If you're that kind of music consumer, and I'm all for that when it's time, but I love, going home and listening to a good complete album like this as well. And obviously, obviously Dave Portner's stuff isn't going to be on your radar for your workout playlist, but this is just, like that Smashing Pumpkins one. It's an album meant to be listened to front to back. So I'm not gonna say, check out this song over this song, and if you like this, check this out. Obviously, if you know Portner's style by now, you can definitely just put this on, listen to it front to back, and yeah, it's a really good album. Like I said, my favorite of his solo works, and he's never missed, except for like he released a Backwards album, and that to me is a little challenging to listen to. I know why he did it. I still wish that one day he would release it forwards, but I really doubt that will happen. I think that's a really tough time of his life to even talk about, let alone release music from. And then number 4, Isn't It Now? AC, Animal Collective. And I talked about this one, of course. The big defeat, the big epic, Animal Collective's Echoes. That one's on here. But then also you have Stride Right, Deacon's song, absolutely amazing. I love the Panda Bear jams on here so much. But, what else has really changed throughout history? My only criticism to this album is the last 2 tracks that tacked on to the end are definitely, for my money, not quite as good, and I wish they were implemented in the track listing in a less awkward way. Though, at the same time, I can't really imagine much except King's Walk closing the record, unless Defeat did. But anyway, like, Magicians from Baltimore, that the track title sums it up. Like, these guys are just creating magic. It's like they go to the lab and they're like crazy musical scientists that just come up with new crazy concoctions. I said crazy twice there, but that's okay. Soul Capture is one of the most poppy things they've ever written, and that starts the proceedings, and it's great. And then to me, the record just gets better from there, and hits that high note and stays with it until all the clubs are broken, which is great. But it is kind of just like a little scene change song for 2 minutes. And I really think that maybe if they put it like 3 or 4 or 5 deep into the track listing, it would have made more sense. But someone fought me online and said that's the best song on the record. So, different strokes, right? I'm just so happy these guys are still, together as a four-piece and still doing music this late in the game. And to me, they're kind of like the Grateful Dead of their generation. Like, and this is kind of their Grateful Dead record. It's not really, but it sounds the most live. It sounds the most kind of organic, and yeah, a lot of Dead fans will be like, no. But yeah, I think AC fans will kind of know what I'm talking about. These guys, in my opinion, and a lot of people disagree with this, they've never put out a bad main event album. Like, I love all their albums so much for different reasons. They're all so different. I love the noisy, abrasive early stuff. I love the dreamy stuff like Campfire Songs and some of the songs off Sung Tongs. Feel, Strawberry Jam, maybe Peak with Merryweather, love Centipede Hurts and all the odd sounds coming at you. Just, yeah, I mean, I could go on, but between that and the Time Skiffs kind of companion album, how lucky are we as Animal Collective fans to still get all this great music? Number three, I didn't mean to bunch these all together. It just happened that way. Number three is going to be Panda Bear and Sonic Boom, Reset in dub. So Reset was one of my favorite records in recent years, let alone of last year. I liked it even more than Time Skiffs, which is crazy, though I can't really knock anything about either record. They're both 5-star records. It's one of my favorite Panda Bear albums, and now this is the dub version with people like Adrian Sherwood doing their take on it. Unfortunately, it dropped like right before Christmas, and it's super expensive, so I couldn't get it from the Domino store. I haven't seen it anywhere, but I haven't really been out record shopping, which is killing me inside. But man, this is such a good dub album, and some people didn't receive it quite as well, and some people don't find these dub remix albums quite as satisfying as I do. I know the Spoon one got a lot of flack, but I really like them, and I absolutely love this. Like, it was one of my favorite listens, and it came out digitally eons ago. Like, I've been listening to it for like half a year, but it finally, you can finally get it on physical form this month as I speak, which will date this video in 12 hours. Um, Absolutely incredible. These Panda Bear songs, they lend themselves so well to remixing, and Panda Bear and Sonic Boom, of course. And yeah, Panda Bear, his productions in general, and Sonic Boom specifically when he produces for Panda Bear, like, there's already so many dub influences coming in and out of the music since Panda went into that more electronic, less acoustic style of music, which was Young Prayer, going into, which is very acoustic and stripped down and sad, going into Person Pitch, which is to this day one of my favorite albums of all time, and made me really expand my palette and be like, okay, there's so much more than just rock music, and there's so much more than just what's on the radio. This guy's taking from Daft Punk, and then King Tubby, and, Cat Stevens, and Dr. Dre, and, in samples as well as an influence, sometimes both. And there's just so many different styles just coming in to fruition and coming into collision there, and still, all these years later, 16 years after that landmark album, mind-expanding solo work from him, he's putting out Reset, and then this Reset dub album, which is it just blew my mind the first couple times I listened to it. And yeah, so that one's got to be in the collection, because can you tell I like it at all? I'm not sure. And then number two, Magdalena Bay, Mini Mix Volume 3. And I really got into Magdalena Bay last year, and through a lot of their songs from their debut album. And then late last year, or early this year, I really realized that a lot of their best songs are also on the mini mixes. And then Volume 3 dropped with a live stream and this crazy music video that's, I don't know, like 15 minutes long or so. And wow, just being a part of the hype for the chat and that premiere, which I never catch any of these premieres for anyone or anything on time. And I think it was at night it hit, and I mean, it was just one of those moments where it's like I love Cherry and Dream Catching and a couple other songs I considered, 5 out of 5, just absolutely, life changing pop music. But it was when this mini mix dropped, and I was part of that premiere, part of that moment, and then it's like, okay, these guys are one of my favorite bands, and one of the best duos I could ever imagine. I love the production. I love how they use their music videos to tell stories and that. I love all the different influences, and the production is amazing. Mika's voice is one of my favorite voices ever. To kind of describe it, I would say it's definitely got that kind of grime style and influence. And they did cover one of her songs, I believed, or at least did a tribute to. It was Grimes versus Gwen Stefani, and I can definitely see both when I listen to her vocals. And Mini Mix Volume 3, as much as I like that Mercurial World, I knew I'd mess that up. That debut album, as much as I like that, I think the mini mix is even better. It's more consistent, and all the tracks are 2.5 minutes long. I would be happy if they were like 5 or 6 minutes a piece. There's so much in there. Tongue Twister, Top Dog. Oh my God, it's an incredible thing, and it's great on its own. I would love to get the vinyl, but it's one of those ones that married with its music videos, it just kind of even becomes more complete. They're a very visual band, and their music videos really tell a story, and I really appreciate that because growing up, I was always frustrated that a lot of my favorite bands, like The Clash back there, a lot of their videos were kind of lame or cheap compared to how great the music was and how visionary it was. And even one of my favorite bands I talk about ad nauseum on this channel, but Pink Floyd, a lot of their videos just don't reach the heights of that, just godlike genius in the music. Some of their videos are even kind of cheesy, whereas Magdalena Bay really use their videos to tell stories, and they go hand in hand, the visual aspect with the audio aspect. And yeah, Mag Bay fan for life, as long as I live, at least. Yeah, I will totally ride for these guys, and I can't wait to see what they do next, whether it's an EP or maybe they'll have another album coming out next year. I'm not sure what exactly they're doing. Whatever hiatus they have, I hope it doesn't last too long. And I would love to catch these guys live because they're one of my new favorites. And speaking of favorites, another band that just, completely changed my life, just like Animal Collective did. Number one, Everything is Magic. And some people don't like this one as much as the rest of the discography. I might like this better than the last album, though it's really close. And Slow Dive is kind of like whatever mood strikes you. That one is the best at the time. And, when I have to rank them, I usually put Souvlaki first. But there's some nights I get home and, this is what I want to listen to. This one's a little lighter. Shanty, there's so much buried in the production. Shanty, A Life, and probably Skin in the Game. If I had to pick 3 favorites, those are my favorites. But, I mean, the whole album, for me, just kind of blew my mind to, overuse that. Anyway, this came out on Dead Oceans. It came out in September. Kisses was the first single. It's definitely the poppiest song here. And I remember the first listen, I thought, okay, yeah, that's good. And the more I got into it, the more I enjoyed it. I can't say enough good things about this band, and I am just so happy and grateful they came back at all, and then they knocked it out of the park with their eponymous album in 2017, And yeah, a lot of people, like I said, they don't like this one as much as that album or all the other full lengths, but I think it's earned its place with all the other ones. And I ranked it number one because it was my most listened to full lengths out of all these albums. Though a lot of these ones I would consider, perfect works of art from the respective bands. Um, yeah, you can actually, like, this is an actual maze. You can actually do it. It's a little too easy, but I wasn't gonna get the pen out and deface the record, though I did do it online. I took a screen cap and I got there. Slow dive will just always be one that you can dream to, you can relax to, you can meditate to, you can just look up at the stars for an hour, get lost in the music. And I mean, they're just incredible. I can't say enough good things about Slowdive, and I'm so glad that this fifth full length really just completes the legacy. Like, it really, they never faltered, is what I mean. And those EPs, like, some of their best stuff will be on the EPs too. There's no I've heard some of the demos in that with varying quality, and but for officially released stuff, like, that's another band, they never miss. Neil Halstead is a genius, and the five of them, just incredible, just incredible. And I probably said this before in a video, but front row slow dive, when I got to see them in 2016 or 2017, before that reunion album took place, like, I was just in tears. Like, I could barely see the stage. I was just, yeah, grown man tears. Just incredible musicianship and swaths of sound, like, just the dream come true, really. Honorable mentions, to be really quick, because this has gone on for half an hour. That's too much video. Gotta say, Gorillaz' Cracker Island was so close. Oil with Stevie Nicks is one of my favorite songs that dropped this year. I love Cracker Island, the singles, which includes the aforementioned title track, of course, with Thundercat. But as great as those singles are, and they are great, they are amazing, actually, I think I like a lot of the deep cuts off the record even more. And a lot of people were saying, Gorillaz on autopilot, but yeah, I absolutely loved Cracker Island. I hope I'm pronouncing this right, but out of Tokyo, Japan, Zero, EO, very kind of jazzy, jazz fusion kind of rock, lots of layers, and yeah, can't recommend that enough. George Clanton, another one I might mess up. Ooh Rap I Ya, which is his follow up to Slide. Finally, obviously there was that Nick Hexum record in there. There were some EPs and other projects in there, but I couldn't say enough good things about Nick Hexum, because it's like, wow, two of my favorite musicians are collaborating. But this is the true follow up to Slide. Ooh Rap I Ya. Yeah, just great. I mean, the singles said it all, that it was going to be a fantastic album, and it really turned out amazing. I mean, the production on those records, George Clanton is brilliant. Robbie Robertson, Killers of Flower Moon. I saw so many great films in the theater this year, but I think Killers of Flower Moon had, it was other than Stop Making Sense, which is archival, so I don't count it, the Talking Heads concert film. Killers of Flower Moon was my favorite experience in the theater this year, and I do think that, not because I'm biased, but I do think it had the best soundtrack. And Robbie Robertson, rest in peace, of course, from the band. I think it was always his wish to get a nomination for some soundtrack work, and it finally happened, but it happened after he passed away, and that's so sad. But I like to think that he's, somewhere out there, and smiling down on the nomination. And I would love to see a win. I would love to see some real talent get the actual win for films, and not one of these kind of trendy soundtracks that I won't say specifically what, because I get enough hateful comments on a good day. I got a lineup of people waiting to abuse me right now. The Go Team Get Up Sequences Part 2. I mean, that's positivity plus in an album. That's maybe my favorite Go team, and I mean, they are very consistent. Um, Gord Downie and Bob Rock, the Luster Parfait. I don't know why I put the in there, but I mean, getting archival Gord Downie this far down the line has been incredible. And I know a lot of people don't like Bob Rock's production that much, but I think that, this is probably the best thing, actually, without fail for me, this was the best thing they did together. The Bob Rock produced hip records I don't generally like as much as the ones that aren't produced by him, but I think out of Gord Downie's solo work, like this one really did it for me, and might be my favorite since his very first solo album, which came out like way back, like almost back as far as Music at Work. I think it came back in like '02, or came out rather. Um, Al Mickels Affair and Black Thought. Black Thought, of course, always gets a mention because he's an incredible MC. Yeah, their album was amazing. Great American Racer, if you like kind of slow core, and it's got commentary in it about the state of youth and depression and drug abuse in the States specifically, and that's a great record that more people should check out and talk about. Metallica 72 Seasons. I don't care what people say. I liked Hardwired, but I think 72 Seasons is my favorite since those big four that came out in the 80s by Metallica something. Ka? Huh? Ah, Ka, yeah. Queens of the Stone Age, In Times New Roman. I think I like this one a lot more than a lot of people too. That first single, Emotion Sickness, is one of my favorite things they've done since their, fourth or fifth album. But I always like Queens. Like I said for Foo Fighters, I like the Queens album prior to the newest that no one really liked. Mark Ronson produced that of all people. So he can do really good work. He's a really good producer, but sometimes he gets caught up in some pretty obnoxious material, especially lately. And Billy Woods and Kenny Segal, one of the best rap albums I've heard in recent years. Maps, stellar production, one of the best things Billy Woods has ever been on. Can't wait for more from those two. They're very prolific. That Neil Young record, he did some archival stuff, but he did the one that just dropped this December. A lot of re-recordings of old material and some really interesting choices from, some 80s records people except me don't really like. And it was like, wow, he's picked that, or Sleeps with Angels from '94, one of his best solo records, or records, Neil Young, yeah. Wide Mouth Mason get an honorable mention. Peter Gabriel, that was an incredible project with a song coming out every full moon. Econoline Crush, New Pornographers, Charlotte Cardin, Blur, of course, Astrocolor, which is a volume 1, so I hope there's a volume 2 in 2024, and the Rolling Stones. As overproduced as some of the songs were, other than the Paul McCartney one, I actually really enjoyed myself, and the boys, Mick Jagger rocking out at 80, all the more power to him. So anyway, what are your picks, and what do you think I missed? I heard a lot of other albums, and there were some that were decent as well, and a couple that I didn't really like. But if you have any suggestions, and can say it in a respectful manner, and please post your top 5, your top 10. A lot of people left some comments on last year's video, and there were even like a couple that I listened to, and I would definitely have put them in the top 10 or as an honorable mention. So I love, I just love it all, and I love seeing other people's favorites. Yeah, and Happy New Year if you're watching this in time, and all the best to everyone that's tuned in. And there's been, I didn't post as many videos this year. There were a lot of things that happened, but I think I said it already. I'm trying to get more into a set schedule. And I think people really respect that, and YouTube really respects that for the algorithm. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna post a lot more. I have a lot of great ideas for next year, and yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it, and all the best to you. Peace and love to all of you guys out there, and yeah, we'll catch you in the next video coming soon. Thanks so much, everyone. Like I said before, Happy New Year, and take care of yourselves out there.